whole picture includes the original giant aircraft. The Doe-X from Lake Constance, for example, a flying boat with 6 twin propellers. At the time, there were no paved runways like today. Flying boats that could land on water were safer and therefore the only option for aircraft of this size. In 1931, the Doe-X flew on a luxurious world tour across the South Atlantic, and from Rio on towards Manhattan. For New Yorkers, it was the event of the year. A few years later, the Viking takes off in Hamburg. For its maiden flight, the River Elbe has to be closed to shipping traffic. From 1939, this 2-story flying boat was intended to fly passengers to New York on a scheduled service for Lufthansa. But these plans were shelved when the Second World War broke out. In 1939, the first scheduled flying boats also crossed the Pacific, from San Francisco to Manila. All seating is first class. 5 lounges and a dining room cater to 20 passengers on the Pan Am Clipper. A single trip costs as much as a car and takes 5 days. The first stopover in Hawaii is reached after 24 hours in the air. The guests are welcomed the next morning at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel with hula dancers and local hospitality. For tourists, Hawaii is a still undiscovered paradise. Like on a long-haul cruise, the passengers continue to the islands of Midway and Guam, where they can swim and stay the night. Pan American World Airways has built luxury hotels here in uniform style. The first holiday resorts with American cuisine. Pan Am brings the American way of life to Asia, to the Philippines, Hong Kong, and Singapore. But these holiday resorts will soon become military bases.
America felt superior in the aircraft making world for many decades. Of course, Boeing has a big advantage also from wartime production. And I think the Americans thought it's our term. We will actually stay forever producing or supplying the world with airliners, basically.
After the Second World War, the American way of life and Pan Am become important symbols. In 1967, Boeing repurposes a failed military transport to develop a giant jet for Pan Am, the 747. Ron Marasco was there.
I was involved in the initial planning of the 747, and we only had the planning manuals. And the first time we saw anything that attracted us was Boeing built a huge hangar at Everett for the manufacture and assembly of the 747. And in one corner of the hangar, they had a full-scale mock-up of the 747.
A wooden mock-up of the passenger cabin, the only way to even comprehend the dimensions of the new aircraft. It quickly gets the nickname Jumbo Jet. Volunteers play the roles of passengers and crew.
The Boeing 747 was probably the biggest gamble in aviation history, and it was the biggest success in aviation history. You have to imagine it was conceived in the year I was born, 1966, which is almost 56 years from now. And at that time, there were no computers, there was no 3D design, everything had to be built by wood.
One eye-catching feature is the staircase that snakes upwards towards the upper deck, like on the old flying boats, leading to a bar or conference room.
This was an airplane 2.5 times the size of anything that any of us had ever seen before.
In 1968, Boeing shows the world what an aircraft with a hump looks like.
It was really also a mother of a lot of things. The size was a game changer. The engine was in the forefront of all technology in commercial aviation at any time then and since. There's never been a leap like that in technology in anything in commercial airlines.
Boeing already has many orders on its books. Airline flight attendants, then called stewardesses, were invited to christen the prototype.
1, 2, 3. Well done.
In 1969, the jumbo jet taxis to the runway for the first time.
Okay, go release brakes on any time, I pick up.
I do remember the first flight. Lumbering this airplane, the size of it, lumbering down the runway and lifting off. It was just very difficult to express the thrill of seeing something like that.
The superpower of the skies. With the largest aircraft in the world, Pan Am and Boeing have a common goal: to leave all competition behind, including Boeing's own 707, the company's first jet plane. The jumbo is sent out into the world. Flight attendant Candice Adams was one of the first on board.
It made air travel affordable for the vast majority of people around the world. And by taking the first order of the 25 747s, that made it a viable airplane for Boeing to start manufacturing.
Candice's dream voyage, the longest of her life, is about to begin. She is one of the first stewardesses hired by Pan Am boss Najib Halabi for the 747. 6 weeks of training before setting off for London, with 15 stewardesses per plane.
Pan Am required a college education and that you spoke 2 languages. And if I looked around at the other jobs available, I could have been a teacher, I could have been a nurse, I could have been a bilingual secretary, but none of them had the romance of flying. That is my diploma, graduating from Pan Am Stewardess School. And even to this day, I look back and say, you know what? This is fancier than my college diploma. It was magical. I mean, think about it. You would board an airplane, you'd get up to go to work, and one day you'd be in New York, and the next day you'd be in Paris or Rome or somewhere as exotic as Tehran. And so every time you went to work, you were almost going somewhere different and exciting.